So in 1998, I was a sophomore in college at Young Harris College. I was in the auditorium. My guess is it must have been spring, between winter and spring. It was chilly. I remember that. My theater professor, the queen mother of the department, I don't want to say her name because I don't know if I can get sued. She walked up to me, got real close, closer than she had ever been before, and she said, "Would you like to come over to my house tonight for a glass of wine?" And being young and not knowing what to say, I said, "Yeah, sure." Went to her house. She poured me a glass of Chardonnay. I had never had a glass of wine in my life. I drank it real fast. Loved the taste of white wine. Wow. It was like perfect juice. I said, "Can I have another glass?" She said, "Yeah, sure." She poured another glass. I drank it real fast, and I got drunk for the first time in my life. She took me to the bedroom and initiated me into the world of sex. Between the sex and the alcohol, being inebriated, I had never felt that much physical pleasure in my entire life. A dope fiend was born right there. A year later, I was about to do a show with Blue Man Group in New York City. The two other guys said, "Hey, let's go upstairs." And I didn't know what was happening. I'm 21 years old. I don't know shit. I walk upstairs, and the one guy takes out a pipe and smokes it, passes it, smokes it, passes it to me, and I was afraid to say no. I took the biggest hit, massive. I didn't even know what was in the pipe. Now, I'm sure it was just weed, but dank ass New York City rocket fuel, knock you on your fucking ass marijuana. I took a massive hit. First hit of my life. I got so fucked up, I didn't know how to do the show. It was the scariest experience I ever had. Did I stop right then and there? No. Now, when you're in entertainment, parties are happening, dope's happening all the time. And so, wanting to fit in with the older, hip, slick, and cool guys, if they were smoking, I was smoking. But I wanted more. If they were drinking, I was drinking. But I took it to the limit, or past the limit. So, long story short, I got the consequences of drug addiction over and over and over for about 19 years. In November of 16, I had my last drink. I got sober, but I was still smoking that wacky weedus. 5 months later, I smoked so heavy that I thought my lungs were going to collapse, and I went to the ER. She said, "You got to quit smoking." I went home and I ate it instead of smoked it, and I got so gacked out that my spirit just kind of took over and said, "I surrender. I've had enough." My 20s and 30s went up in smoke. While my peers from high school were all married and fucking and making babies and working careers and living a great family life, I was chasing my asshole in a circle looking for the next hit, the next girl, the next this. Now, I can assure you that when I was a little boy, this was not my aspiration. I wasn't thinking to myself, man, I really want to be a dope fiend when I grow up. It wasn't like that. But all it took was one drink, and I was off and running. Later, after doing some reading, I learned that I had a disease. The disease is called different things. It's called alcoholism. It's called addiction. You can chop it up. You can look at it through any prism you want. But this is a disease, and I had it. My parents had it. I don't think we're responsible for having a disease because I don't think that's our fault. But the recovery aspect is up to us. So I had to, once I was introduced to the world of recovery, I got on board and I started doing what they were doing. And what they were doing was they were going to meetings and they were following some suggestions. So I just got on board and did what they were doing. Today, I celebrate 8 years clean of marijuana. That stuff had me in the grip. Some people like to smoke other shit. They like an opiate high. They like a speed high. They like to play with other stuff. For me, the THC high of weed and hash was just the thing. My trauma, my brain, my depression, it was like a cure-all. The problem with it was there were deleterious consequences that I never could have foreseen. They didn't talk about that stuff. I was experiencing things and I didn't know what I was going through. Now, I know that for my particular constitution, I can't play with any chemicals. I can't trip. I can't dope out. I can't drink. I can't toke. I can't smoke. I can't crank, nothing. I've got to stay 100% clean. And I had to give up some people that were still using, and I couldn't hang out with them anymore. Couldn't even talk to them anymore. Family members, I used to smoke weed with my dad. It was the only dad I could have. If I, he didn't want to talk to me, but we'd smoke weed, and I felt like we were hanging out. That was my dad. My mother was a drunk, and if I could get fucked up on wine with my mom, I felt like I was bonding with my mom. That was the closest thing to family that I could deal with. Now, I'm clean and sober, 8 years, and it's a very different deal now. So I just thought I'd put a few words down here and say that, it's a good life. I just had a steak with potatoes and onions, a couple cloves of raw garlic, followed up with a cup of yerba mate. I think I'm going to go to Walmart and get some more oranges, some Brussels sprouts, some asparagus, shit like that. I'm grateful for a good life. I'm not saying that I don't want things like a nice woman and, travel and shit like that. Of course, pleasure and excitement are, fun. But I think I've had enough excitement. I think what I need to do now is chill the fuck out and be responsible and be in the land of the living and stay away from the distractions. Something like that. So for those of you who have supported me in my journey, I want to thank you for being there for me. And for those of you who pissed me off, I'm not saying that I hope you burn in a car fire. I'm not saying that I want to see you incinerated in a cave in Okinawa with a flamethrower. I'm not saying that I don't want to see you disappear in a mysterious gardening accident. I'm not saying that, so I'm not going to say it. So thank you for being there for me. That's it.